All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give all glory, honor, and praises due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakahakodash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, the ones that rule well over the flock of Israel. Shalom, man. Salutation to you, Akim, out here pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the Lord's elect, Akim and Akwathium, scattered Israelites and Israelite foreigners. Aparatazah, Lord willing, this video is edifying. I'm your brother Rapal Math. Joined alongside, I got with me Priest Adan, Priest Raheem of Great Millstone branch here at Birmingham, Alabama. And through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, we're going to present another topic and lesson called Property Theft Warning. Property Theft Warning. Own nothing, be happy equals NWO, enslavement agenda. You know, and right off the back, the word agenda pops up. That's a Greek word, same spelling. It means to do. This is on Esau's bucket list, an NWO, whereas the commoner's bucket list is ski trips or, beach vacations. Well, the elite who own everything or own the majority of the earth's wealth want to enslave for their to do a bucket list. They want to continue to enslave. And the way they're going to do that is through a grand scheme, largest ever theft of everything and everyone, to their best ability. So we're just going to go through a few clips, go over this topic. We do this ad nauseum, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah. Lord has presented these words in these last days. And that's what we do. We take current events and we show the parity in the scriptures where prophetically these things are supposed to happen. Nothing is random, as far as a new world order, that's not random. But to believe in it, they call you conspiracy theorists. Well, the scriptures just liken you as a believer or somebody that is prudent. The scriptures say the prudent foreceive the evil and hide it themselves. Talks about those that are wise will bring more oil with them. It talks about those that are asleep and those that are awake. Okay, those that are awake know about the coming of the day of the Lord. Whereas the scripture says, I don't write unto you being ignorant. You are the children of light and not darkness. For you know that that the Son of Man so cometh as a thief in the night. All of these things is prophetic, but you have to have faith in it. And your faith in it means you're awake. You're alive. You're also alive to the fact that we got enemies as a nation. We got enemies. As a matter of fact, can a brother just quickly grab Psalms 119, verse 98? We got enemies, but Yahweh Shem Yahshua gave us something to have an advantage over our enemies. Our enemies move by traps, schemes, plots. Our enemies devise evil. Our enemies have the power to do so. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and he's going to utilize all of the power that he has while he has it. And so we're in the expectation of a hope of our Lord returning. But in the meantime, the agenda is to depopulate the earth. The agenda is to take all your property away. You will own nothing, be happy, and enslave the nations of the world through an RFID chip. You brothers grabbed it.
God,
the water. Mm-hmm.
God, the book of Psalms 119 and verse 98, it says, through thy precepts, it's like it, through thy commandments has made me wiser. It's like it, though through thy commandments has made me wiser than my enemies. for they are ever with me.
hmm And I think it's thou, but that's all,
That's law. Cool.
same sound and everything. Thou through thy commandments have made me wiser than my enemies. That's what we want to see. We want to see how we could become wiser than our enemies. We're not lost as some are concerning enemies, the state in which somebody is against you and they live and do and act according to their intuition, which wants to conquer you even more. Jake, the 12 tribes, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, um, our nation is in a state of ignorance for the most part. Our nation is in the state of um, death and destruction, being misled. You're lied to. You're lost, which that word goes into soon to perish, or those that are fit to be destroyed. And so our Lord doesn't want us in the state of being lost and confused. That was a curse that came unto us. And the nations used that to their best ability. They used that timing, right? It's a time and a season for everything. So knowing that we were cursed, it also goes into this in the book of Judith, how the nations, heathens, knew when the Israelites were cursed that they were conquerable. So knowing that we went through our curses, Esau took full advantage of that. We went into cargo slavery. He was able to toss us over the deck of the ships. He was able to enslave us and beat, rape, rob, murder us, take our heritage, to torture us. He was able to do everything you can imagine, but his time is drawing to a close. And so the Lord used this time also to wake us back up out of our sleep. The entire time of slavery, Jake was jacked up. They didn't truly know who we were as a people. That's how bad that captivity was. But yet and still, the Lord has ways to make wisdom shine forth, to make his elect return to him, right? That eagerness to return back to the Lord is set in his elect. All of a sudden, they're going to be desiring something deeper, desiring a more, more understanding. So thou through thy commandments made me wiser than my enemies. And that's the deal. That's the order in which the Lord set up through time, that we would begin to be established even in the midst of our enemies. So because at a certain point, we're just going to conquer our enemies. That's was that Jeremiah 14? What is that? Oh, okay. Isaiah 14, goes to us being ruling over our enemies. Those that oppressed us shall be oppressed by us. So that's the ultimate game. But as of right now, you see, it's knowledge, it's understanding that we fight for. Real quick, also, can you grab Proverbs 1 and 2? 1 and 2.
Found the book of Proverbs, chapter 1 and verse 2. To know wisdom and instruction, to receive the words of understanding.
Read
To
on.
receive. Yep, it says to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity. To give subtlety to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion.
And come on, these are things that we desire. Even while this is not our kingdom, we still desire wisdom. Even though things don't look good for a so-called Black, Latino, and Native American man in this society, we still desire instruction. We need to know wisdom. We desire to have and perceive the words of understanding. This is Yahweh Shemiah Shah having that effectual calling for his sheep so that we could return back to him. What verse was that?
That was verse 4.
That's it. I see what you got on the screen. The brother wrote about totalitarianism. And I'll read it. It says totalitarianism is an extreme, centralized form of authoritative or authoritarian rule where the state seeks to control every aspect of public and private life. You want to speak on it?
Con, um, Con, just answer your point, and even the videos that we have lined up with this devil. His ultimate goal is with complete control. You know, but a Thwadi Yahweh Shem Shai, the Lord have made us king into what this devil is trying to do. That's why they pulled out that Psalms 119. We're wiser than the enemies now. And the reason why, because we know the inner workings of the devil. We know this guy, he can't achieve his new world order. Because like what it is, Job the 15th chapter said, a dreadful sign is in his ears. You know, this guy, he's trying to call a play, and we're calling it out before he even run it. And ultimately, that's why it's going to lead to this guy just coming down having great wrath, because really, ultimately, the prophets are the ones that's really ruining this guy plans. And in order for this guy to really jump off and do the things that he truly desires, he's going to try to have to take the prophets off the internet, man. You know?
Perfect. And I'm gonna read for you Psalms 23 and 5. It says, "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over."
And again, just adding back into the elder point, you know, because it's really this truth, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is really taking this devil down. That's why it says, "What thou preparest a table before me in front of mine enemy." Esau, he can see the camps. Esau see the live streams and all these different things speaking about his future events, you know, and ultimately, really, again, this guy, he's scared. You know, he really got feelings hard because it's what it says there too in Isaiah the 13th chapter about the banner of the Lord goes and how your words is going into the gates of the nobles. He can see this third temple being built right before his eyes. You know, and again, it's really Yahweh Shema Shai who's showing this devil that, yeah, you're not the next one up, it's going to be these guys. And he says, "Thou anointest my head with oil, thy cup runneth over." Again, it's talking about this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Because like it says in it's Matthew the 13th chapter, how we have it more abundantly now, man. You know? But that was it on that. So
Con. Now the brother has here Psalms 88 and 9. It says, "Mine eye mourneth by reason of affliction. Lord, I have called daily upon thee. I have stretched out mine hands unto thee."
Yeah, and this is if I may, this is the state in which we was in before we, cried unto you how about Shema Shah for answers. Because inwardly, the elect are always looking for, what's the cause of everything? Why is this way? Why is it that way? What's the true purpose in life? Well, eventually the Lord exposes us into, what his true intentions are. And we start to understand that there's actually powers over us, who are plotting against us. Again, with Esau Edom, the top banking elites, and this whole entire system, is really tailored towards you sinning against your power. So of course, sin against our power causes what? Affliction. It causes captivity. It causes death. And this is how Esau, was able to keep his foot up on our neck by having us destroyed for lack of knowledge. Even going back into that counsel, like you mentioned in the book of Judah, the 5th chapter, how they understand that, if we sin against our power, then we can pretty much come up and overtake them. Yep, we got it.
Con, it says in verse 10, "Wilt thou show wonders to the dead? Shall the dead arise and praise thee?" Salah.
Yeah, and this is this is exactly what you're witnessing. The dry bones awaken. All right, it says, "Will thou show wonders unto the dead?" And what these people are witnessing right now is literally a miracle. It's a spiritual miracle. All right, saying that Esau did everything within his power to cast darkness, over the truth. But we understand that light overcomes darkness. Okay, truth overcomes lies. So it was like, how could we get back? It seemed like there was no way. But it shows you the power of the Most High to be able to resurrect the dead, not only in the physical, but also in the spiritual sense. By us coming back into, the names, first and foremost, our heritage, of course, and then, the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, these names were hidden by Esau. So these are great wonders that are not to be overlooked by the Most High. You got it.
Come. So let's go ahead and roll that first clip. Babaka Shah. And just go into it, getting right into it. We in the time where Esau's gonna take full advantage by way of taking away everything you own. That's a part of his NWO enslavement agenda. Own nothing, be happy. Theft warning. Go ahead.
God, which one is it? Squad?
Is it a video? Let me see. Let's scroll up a little bit.
Clip.
Is it a clip? Does it play?
Let me see. I mean, it's a screen. The second one is a clip.
Okay, yeah, let's just start with that then.
Okay.
Think about the parallels in the videos I'm about to show you. One is by comedian, actor, and writer Cat Williams.
You probably wonder, why do white people pay so much attention to black people if they don't like them? I don't pay attention to things I don't like.
What's the answer?
The liar knows what lie he told. You see what I'm saying? So even if I made it deceitful and I made you think that the answer is over here, but the answer is really over here, I'm still going to be looking over here. Me, the one that tricked, because I know this is the right answer. Black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity.
And the other is by journalist, professor, and activist Dr. Mark Lamont Hill.
That's why these writers kept written by himself, written by herself, Phyllis Wheatley, Frederick Douglass, because they thought Negroes couldn't read and write. They thought Negroes didn't have the capacity to read and write. And yet they made all the laws to stop us from learning how to do what? Read and write. If we can't read and write, what you trying so hard to stop us for? And the answer is because America has always known what you are. America has always known who you are. America has understood what you're capable of, and they will make you think you ain't nothing. At the same time that they exploit your gifts, they'll tell you you lazy and make you a slave. They'll tell you you dirty and have you clean their house. They'll tell you you uncivilized, and we raise their children. They know who you are. But it's time that you listen to who you are.
Pause it for a second.
Understand who you are.
Hey, just a quick note. Mark Lamont Hill, this guy here speaking. I was there that day when he walked by the camp. It was on 34th Street. Walked by, didn't say nothing. Stopped, turned around, came back, looked at the sign, took a picture of the sign, smiled, and walked off. You know, so that's how that story went. But yeah, he know about us too. Go ahead.
Two different phrasings, same idea. It addresses the lies told by white supremacy culture and how it benefits from the demonization and dehumanization of black people and black culture, while at the same time relying on black humanity and black culture. Love and liberation to you all. And as always, like and follow for more content.
Don't you understand that the people who do this thing, who practice racism, are bereft? There is something distorted about the psyche. It's a huge waste, and it's a corruption and a distortion. But when you take it away, I take your race away. And there you are, all strung out, and all you got. And what is that? What are you without racism? I mean, these are the questions. It's if you can only be tall, and my feeling is, have a very, very serious problem. And they should start thinking about what they can do about it. Take me out of it.
Okay. I mean, you know, this goes into the whole idea of these people wanting you to own nothing because they took the very nature of who we are away from us. Again, we went through many captivities, but we never went through a captivity where the people found it a necessity to take away our heritage. And the book of Psalms 83 illustrates that perfectly, where Edom is the number one enemy that desired to take away our identity. You take away or you steal somebody's identity. So that was him beginning to be a thief. And you saw that, you know, Jake pretty much knows about this, the lies. You can go ask Native Americans, so-called Native Americans, the Gadites, about Esau Edom. You know, what will they tell you? That he's a thief as well. How many treaties were broken, right? How much land in America was stolen? All of it. You know, even Canada, right? The French up there. So, you know, down to the islands, down to Central South America, their hand is still in all of these countries. That's why they was able to do what they did in Venezuela. So all for what? So that they can have everything. Let's go ahead with brother's precepts too. Let me see here. The brother brought out Sirach. Can you read that for the brother Adon? Let me grab something.
I can't see it on my screen. What scripture
Oh
is it?
yeah,
I can
he's
prove
with Sirach 14 and 9.
Okay. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 14 and 9. It says, a covetous man's eye is not satisfied with its portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drive of his soul.
You know, if I may, because ultimately, like LJ speaking, this guy he even stole our heritage. Esau, he got his own culture. You know, he's supposed to be the Edomites come from Esau, Edom, for lack of better words. He got guys like Alexander the Greek. He got George Washington, but he want to align himself with David, man. You already got your portion, man. You know, but again, he's a greedy devil. He want even more. You got it, though.
Verse 10, it says, a wicked eye envied his bread, and he is a niggard at his table.
And that's what Esau is, because ultimately you got the rule of the whole earth. You know, Job 9 and 24, but you're not satisfied with that. You want more. You want the people. And not only do you want the people, you want the put a little device inside them. Because when you read that word totalitarianism, it says you could basically invade their private life. You know, and this a roundabout way of this devil playing God too, man. You know, he's trying to have his hands in everything so he can claim to be the Almighty, man. But the might that this guy have, it was given to him by the Most High, showing you that this guy, he's bugged out, man. You know, that's why I said iniquity of the wicked drive up his soul. Because ultimately the Lord, he's drying up this green tree, because ultimately this guy, he's really not fit to rule. You know, that was it on you. How about that?
Gone. And can a brother read Habakkuk 2 and start at 5?
It's the book of Habakkuk 2, verse 5. It says, yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied.
Yeah. So as they were saying, this is concerning the people who can't be satisfied, don't ever have enough. Who does that sound like on the earth? Who is the proud man on the earth? Okay, pride go before a fall. So a lot of our videos stem around the fall of Babylon, the collapse of it, monetarily, financially, morally, of course, then physically, you know, to end it all. He neither keepeth at home. You'll find his carrier strike groups everywhere. You'll find his bases, over 1,000 military bases, foreign, not domestic. All right. Hundreds of embassies. This man is neither keepeth at home. And he enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, cannot be satisfied. This is somebody you don't want in power, however he is. So what's his next move? A man that can't be satisfied. What would his next move be? It'd be to take what you have. You have too much. So they come up with a philosophy to own nothing and be happy. Okay. I'll put that out in the beginning about Klaus Schwab. That's his phrase, own nothing, be happy, actual person. It says it's a German economist, mechanical engineer, and the founder of the WEF. This is where that comes from, the WEF, World Economic Forum. Okay. And they oversee, they set up world leaders like puppets. They have a lot of power in this in the world, because they scoped out who would be potential presidents and puppets for their countries. All right. A lot of these presidents came up as young people through the WEF. They were actually part of WEF before they ever became prime ministers and presidents. Little known facts. That goes for Asia. That goes for Central South America. That goes for Europe, all over the world. A lot of these people was found by the WEF. So what does he have? What is his grand scheme of things? It's to own everything and for you to own nothing, which makes you a slave of theirs. That's why it's a newer order enslavement agenda. Nothing happens without enslaving you. Okay. And that mark in that digital all, the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip is the what's that, apex or the cherry on top of his enslavement agenda. Let's play a video real quick. I know I got more to that, but I want to get into this video. Adon, it's the one from Rumble. And yeah, let's play some of that. And you might have to do some skipping ahead, so be prepared for that.
Welcome to Man in America, a voice of reason in a world gone mad. I'm your host, Seth Holhouse. So as we look around this country, you probably agree with me in saying that a lot has changed in the last 5 years. COVID specifically, it changed the fabric of our entire country. Now, maybe things feel a little more normal now than they did 3 years ago, but the problem is that a lot of these changes that happened were happening in areas that we can't even see. And one of the biggest changes that happened in COVID was what happened to small and medium-sized businesses in America. So as an example, so in 2008, when there was the housing collapse, what happened was that the prices plummeted. A lot of people, they lost it. They were underwater in their mortgages. They lost their homes. Well, these big banking companies and private equity firms came in and they were able to scoop up a lot of these houses for pennies on the dollar. And a lot of these banks and equity funds got their money from taxpayer dollars. Now, fast forward to COVID, what happened is something very similar, that all of these small businesses that were shut down during COVID, it's like, oh, okay, well, the strip club's open, but your daycare is going to have to close because wear your mask. So you know, all these small businesses that weren't able to get through COVID, or they were struggling so much. And then, though, it created the most ripe opportunity for, these giant equity firms and banks to come in and buy up all these small businesses. And so, again, as I mentioned, so things seem pretty normal, but actually, if you look beneath the surface, you'll find out that your local hair salon, or in my case, in my example, the two prominent local HVAC companies I was talking to, are owned by the big banks, are owned by private equity. And this is really concerning because we've also seen that, I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I would imagine that a record number of single family homes are not owned by single families. They're owned by corporations, they're owned by hedge funds, they're owned by banks. So what we're seeing happening here in America is this wealth transfer that, you know, for a lot of people in America, they can't even figure out how to pay their bills or put food on the table. They're struggling working 2 or 3 jobs. Yet what's happening is, amidst this, you have these big, massive juggernaut financial companies that are buying up everything, and we don't even know about it. And so my guest today is a woman named Tiffany Sianka.
Pause it there.
Wonderful, wonderful woman.
And we're going to skip ahead to about 11 minutes in. Yeah, he's going over to the entirety of it all. What the pandemic did on the business side was ruin and wreck family businesses forever. A lot of these family businesses was not allowed to operate, and thus went into debt. They went bankrupt. They still owed money on their bills. You know, their credit was shot. And when you have a company and when you go bankrupt, you have to sell it. So they sold it, and guess who was right there to buy it off for pennies on the dollar? Was these banks. It was a scheme that a lot of people don't know about because you're not business owners. But they ran that scheme from the top down. Man, that was a perfect play. It was like triangle offense with Scotty and Mike. Okay, it was perfect. All right, ran effortlessly. A lot of businesses collapsed. And then they go on to talk about how the majority of employment is really ran by small businesses. Corporations do most of the layoffs. Small businesses is what got the majority, over 90% of people employed. So you attack the small businesses, you attacking the people. Again, the philosophy here and the agenda is to enslave, not to liberate, not to give you more rights and freedoms and ownership, but to enslave you by taking away everything that you do own. And they went after an attack through that whole COVID. They attacked the business owners, man, the millionaires, the middle classes, and a little bit above that. So it was a swipe, it was a grift, it was a scheme, it was a plot, it was a trick. Again, we are not ignorant concerning Satan's devices, whereas again, his desire is as hell. He cannot be satisfied. You got that in 11. Raheem, did you want to touch on that?
Yeah, if I may just add to your point, even in Genesis, it says that this devil was more subtle than any beast in the field. You go into that word subtle, it means cunningly clever, because it was really a clever plan that this guy did in 2020 to really set up the things that he's really trying to do now. But a lot of Jake was blinded unto it because Esau put the deceptive nature out there,
Perfect. Yep, let's go ahead and press play on about 11 minutes in.
Homes. But I know so many small businesses, whether they had gyms or restaurants or coffee shops, that they closed. Like they had no way of making it through COVID and having to shut their store down for 15 months or however long, but then would allow these same parasitic and predatory banking institutions to come in and buy up all these businesses for pennies on the dollar. It's just like, oh gosh, it's 2008 2.0. And hearing your story even more so, it's like, gosh, like that makes sense. But I can only imagine that for you have this franchise business, you have these contracts, you're obviously taking a risk, because I've owned multiple businesses before. I've signed, big, 8-year long leases, right? For sometimes, I had a lease in Manhattan for over $10,000 a month, right? For a business I was running there. Like that's a giant risk when you're signing that dotted line to take this risk on to own a business. And so here you have these big money people coming in, basically stealing your ability to earn income, yet you're left with all of the debt. You're left with the lease, you're left with the small business loans. I mean, it's insane.
RFK has a really good quote about this he uses when he and I talk. He says, Tiffany, COVID was just one giant money laundering scheme. Basically, he says, in COVID, we closed all of the small businesses down, 35 million, 40 million small businesses down for 505 days. And in that same time frame, we created 551 new billionaires. Not a one of them was a small business owner.
Gosh.
Now, when you look at, a lot of people are big on the word oligarchy right now, or technocratic oligarchy. When you look at what oligarchy really is, it's collaborating with the government to choose winners and losers. And it's very easy for us in our government to say we don't do that, but we absolutely do that. We did it in 2008 when we chose the banks over the homeowners. And then we allowed private equity firms to swoop up all those homes, raise the cost of living to an unsustainable place, and create the housing crisis we have now, where they're buying up more and more and more homes and driving up the prices further, right? We did it in COVID when we said that Lowe's and Home Depot could be open, but Ace Hardware had to close because they didn't sell lumber. I'm sorry. Why was lumber the distinguishing factor?
Yeah, not screws or wire, but lumber.
We said it in the state of Maryland, where we had, for the first time in a long time, a Republican governor, Larry Hogan, who said that all children's recreation and gyms had to shut down, but put in a carve out for all martial arts studios. Quick, ask what his family friends do. So martial arts studios could thrive in the state of Maryland, and everything else stayed shuttered for 17 months.
You can pause it there.
We all lost everything.
That again, bringing back the fact that it's a George Carlin, the late George Carlin comedian, said it's a big party and you ain't invited, right? It's a big club and you ain't invited. And that's all it is, choosing winners and losers, as she's going into. And Esau waking up to it, man. We're in that time in season in which this man finds out that he has a short time to rule, Revelations 12:12, and he comes out with great wrath. His plan is to enslave the population of the world, whether you believe it or not. And we in June, which means that everybody who believes this is a conspiracy theorist. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, you a nut. According to Nate, this is, according to IUIC. But we in that time where, once again, we are bringing out what the scriptures say concerning these last days, concerning the new digital money, the digital all that's going to go along with that money. All right. They already done stole the land. They already done stole your heritage. You should know that at this point in time, they coming back to steal again. That's just what they do. I think I put here. Let me see. Let me go ahead and read. Okay, I see the brother put it up too. Spirit. I thought I posted this, but I see you posted it, so I'm gonna read it from the brother Yahweh Shalom. Can the brother read that? John 10 and 10. Raheem, could you got that?
John, this is the book of St. John 10.
And
verse 2.
Salakia, before you read that, Adon, can you jump to, I just sent another video. Can you jump to that video? We're going to cut that one. And let's go to the next Rumble video. Go ahead, Raheem.
John, this St. John 10 and 10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly.
So this man stole your identity. He stole your birthright. He stole us, right? We was on the west coast of Africa. Now our heritage is over here in America. Gave us new heritage, replaced us, replaced our identity, stolen land. All right. You can't find a Native American or so-called Native American to save your life, right? Stolen heritage, lies on the treaties, signed thousands of treaties with Native Americans, never kept one. The thief cometh but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. That's all his whole resources, his whole life, his whole agenda is to take what's not his, steal. Okay, scriptures completely tell you not to steal, but they do it anyway. Okay, and you shouldn't destroy another man's landmark. There's commandments directly against doing that, but he does it anyway. And now he's about to pull off his greatest achievement of all time. I mean, this ain't no joke. This man is about to steal everything and everyone. Okay, so it's about to go down. The brother put up the definition for oligarchy. I'll read it. An oligarchy is a form of government or power structure in which control rests with a small elite group of individuals. Do you want to say anything on that out?
Hey, that quote you just said, it's a party, and the rest of these people ain't invited. But this is ultimate goal of going in. It ain't no coincidence that lady was mentioning bankers and a lot of these key words to point out these Amalekites. But just going back, this is his ultimate goal, man. Because even then, we go back in time into the Roman Empire. Jake kind of snuck that way up in there, especially when it was going down at the end. But Esau, he's trying to stop that from happening by getting most of you niggas seed up, man.
Yeah. And again, who's talking about this, man? Because you got guys talking about we in the new covenant, but who's bringing out Bible prophecy, revealing the things that's happening in the near future? Okay, these guys got a crazy idea what part of prophecy we in, and they always get it wrong. That's an important thing, to get the timing of where you are in prophecy right. Let alone knowing the prophecy and understanding it. Then you got to get the timing right. Where are you? Has this happened already? And that could be your detriment if you think that everything already happened except for the Lord returning. No, there got to be a mark that's about to be implemented. And depending on who's teaching you, you might think the mark is sin. You might think the mark is spiritual. Everything that doesn't add up when it comes down to you can't buy or sell without it. And then he calls it all to receive it. How is he going to cause you to do what? He calls it all to receive the mark, which is, and then it says rich and poor, showing you that it's for everybody. Okay, it's for everybody except for the very small oligarchy, small elite group of individuals who, the scriptures identify as Esau, Edom, and the elite of Esau. Was you able to find it? You did.
Yeah.
Con. Okay. And I want to read quickly what you also put up before we play Proverbs 22:7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender.
Right. So if I may, yeah, Esau knows that he rules over the mass of the people, but he wants to take it a step further, which is what we're going into, because part of him making you take that C up is putting you in debt. It's a thing called debt slaves. Which you can't pay for your mortgage, you can't pay for your everyday necessities, and he's pretty much putting that squeeze upon you, by taking out the middleman, because he basically just wants the poor. He's taking down your mom and pop stores with these different calamities, these plagues or whatever, and he's drawing you into the space to where he can administer the medication. Like we go into Luke 21:25. The word it's not perplexity, but the other one, but this is what this man is up to. And you people out there are slowly being drawn to this man's snare and don't even know it. All right. He's leading you as a herd, as a flock unto the slaughter. Just because you pretty much put your trust in this system, you're crying out for relief, but these devils not gonna give you no kind of relief until they are able to put that damn C up in you, man. And also debt slaves and them, you're constantly going and getting loans and you can't pay that back. They tacking interest on it, and it's like it gets to the point where you just say, I give up. They're gonna weigh you down until you just finally submit and say, just give me the chip, man. And become a permanent slave. But that was it, Squirrel.
Yeah, and as we was talking about that, that permanent slave desired to have an awl driven through his ear to the doorpost, right? The ancient custom of making the slave permanent as opposed to a slave that would be free soon. And as you can see, men are gonna have to take that digital awl and be a permanent slave. The brother's right in saying that. He wants to make permanent slaves. He's not interested in you just being there for a second. And that word he was talking about was distress of nations from Luke 20:21. I mean, yep. And I got something on it. It says the meaning, the Greek word here is synok, which translates to anguish, dismay, or feeling hemmed in with no way out.
Wow.
And we also go into how it means like being in a stall, squeezed into a stall like cattle that's ready to be administered medication. And so that would be the other form of it. So as you can see, the time is now. And again, hearkening on true Bible prophecy and true prophets, you can see what the Lord is doing. Evidently, he's marking those he did not send and dismissing them. So the real prophets of the Lord are still standing until that famine of hearing the word. We're not stepping back. The scriptures say if a man take his hand off the plow, he's not fit for the kingdom. As a matter of fact, you don't step back, you move forward. Here you go, the meaning, the Greek word, so y'all can see it. All right, the brother mentioned we're in this time, this synarchy time, all right, where people will feel hemmed in with no way out. Go ahead and play that video, and you're gonna have to skip ahead. He's talking random stuff, but then they get right into it. So see if you could skip maybe like a minute into the video. Babakasha.
They said, I will never bitch about hot weather ever. I love the hot. Bring me the heat.
Keep going.
And in the wintertime,
go to 2 minutes. Esau.
My consistency with being conscious about what it is that I'm putting into my body. This is God's temple, baby. And he commands us to take care of this thing, to be strong,
to
be real.
Quick introduction. Yeah, they just going. I just found this video and they going over. It's 2 days old. They going over this Trump IRA situation. Apparently, Trump found some loophole and got some money sent to a private account on behalf of taxpayer dollars, something along the lines of 1.2 billion. And it's in a private account where he is the official of. So they finding ways to really rip American taxpayers off daily. And it's happening at an executive level. It's no joke. Like it's a free for all. If you know, you had you had TikTokers. This one guy in particular, he was a taxi cab driver. He said some rich dude came in the car and he was they was in town and they was all nervous and worried, and he basically exposed an elite plan that, you know, this system is going to crash. And if you have any money, save it, save up money, get the bare necessities and get ready. And this was like some dude who owned all kind of property everywhere in the world. So at the elite level, panicking is going on because it's about to be a free for all. The system is going to crash. Okay, your dollars will mean nothing. And ultimately, what is the end game? Own nothing, be happy. So they coming for everything. And you know what? Through the spirit, you got to be in this spirit to say, here it is, have it. F it. I don't want it. The Lord going to take care of me. How about Shemi outside going to protect us? He going to feed us in that time. You want to cut off all my resources? You want to cut off things to my family and my whomever, to the brothers, Akim, Akwathium? You right? You want to create a new digital currency, and this money, this FRNs don't work no more, and you won't accept my dollar bills anymore, right? And I have to get a mark to be able to operate in your society. Have it, man. Have at it. And that's the bottom line. You got to be in that spirit. A lot of what you're gonna find out is people gonna fold. They're gonna fold, man. Let's go ahead and play it.
Leaders to be fit physically, to be able to defend yourself, to be able to defend your family, your woman, your lady, your wife, your significant other, your spouse, your children, to be able to step in and handle business whenever necessary. And I did that for 15 years, never lost a fight. If I did, I would be dead. Because when I was a bounty hunter, guess what? Every fight that I was involved with, there was a firearm involved because I brought it to the party. And when you're fighting with somebody and they're trying to get away from you, what do you think they're going to do if they render you immobilized? They're going to take your gun. They're going to take your gun and they're going to use it. The only cheap fight is the one that you lose. Be prepared for everything. Be vigilant. Keep your head on a swivel. Always be armed. Always have plenty of ammo. Be proficient with your firearm. Go to the range. Learn it. Don't just carry one without practicing with it.
Pause it like that.
When you're under stress in a crowd.
Yeah, you start getting worried. Remember, that Second Amendment is something that the elites really fear too. Like, that's one thing, you know, Spirit I had a dream about that. You know, I shared it with the Akim not too long ago, a few months ago, in which Esau had a plan and they wanted Trump to do away with them guns, create whatever law you had, and Trump wasn't with it. So they stepped him aside to begin the plan, you know, because he ain't nothing but a puppet leader anyway. And so the plan was to basically ostracize or, you know, squeeze everybody, all the gun owners, into having to give up their guns. Squeeze. That's how they do things. They got money, so they feel like they got the time, right? Time ain't the same to them as it is to us. We on the clock all day long for this cash just to make a living. These people who got all the riches, you know, the ruling class elites, they ain't on no clock like that. The only clock that's ticking for them is the end of their society, which that's the only reason why they trying to speed things up. But as you can see, they do things gradually. But, you know, it's spoken like a true Edomite. He gonna go to his guns for everything. They got that saying, over my dead body, over my cold, dead hands. That's how you gonna take their gun from them. So, you know, the Lord said, you know, you live by the sword, you die by it, you know, which is a phrase that, you know, is coined specifically for Edomites who came out of Edom, Esau. Skip ahead. They gonna talk about the IRA thing a little bit. I guess skip like to 4 minutes in. What you at right now?
We at 3:05 now.
Go to like 5. I want them to try to get to the point.
The things that are going on around you, and be fit in every aspect of your life. Be fit physically, be fit mentally, be fit psychologically, be fit, most importantly, spiritually.
Go 10 minutes in.
And if you are spiritually fit, that means that you know it's bailouts. We now have bank bail-ins, all of the airline bailouts, which we're now just letting them go. Spirit Airlines, see you later. Americans on the chopping block, United's on the chopping block, because the investors who are housed on Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv at their private equity firms like BlackRock, Blackstone, the Carlyle Group, Vanguard, and State Street realize that the future of air travel means unmanned, AI-controlled airborne transport tinfoil cans of suicide, basically. And so airlines are going to go away, which is why they don't care about the cost of Jet A, refined fuel, diesel fuel, because they're going to power everything electronically, because they are going to be electronic methods of air travel.
Oh yeah,
Unmanned.
we'll have TaaS, transportation as a service, kind of like we have software as a service, SaaS. The TaaS industry is going to be bonkers. We see it right now here in Tampa, in my hometown. Waymo, which is Alphabet, part of Google, they're manless taxis. So you get in and pick you up like an Uber subscription. You won't even have Jiffy Lube's gas stations because you won't need to have a car anymore. You just have a Waymo account and it picks you up and takes you wherever you want to go for $300-400 a month. You'll have a subscription and you don't have to pick up your kid anymore. You won't even have to drive to work. You just have your electronic car pick you up with no man in it. And that's where we're
and
headed.
send it to the school where your children are being taught by humanoid robots.
Yep.
Like what Melania rolled out at the White House with that mentally ill man pretending to be a woman, Brigitte Macron. Okay, so let's get into Trump IRA. Promoting retirement savings access for American workers by establishing Trump IRA. Let's just look at the first part of this. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, and to ensure that every American worker has access to a simple, portable, low-cost retirement savings option, it is hereby ordered. Tens of millions of Americans lack access to employer-sponsored retirement plans. Workers in small businesses, part-time workers, independent contractors, and self-employed workers face unnecessary barriers to saving for retirement. My administration intends to give these often left out American workers access to the same type of retirement savings opportunities offered to every federal worker, and to establish an easy and transparent way for eligible workers to obtain up to a $1,000 match for their savings. $1,000. We just talked about what $100 means. What does $1,000 mean? Nothing. Hardworking Americans deserve retirement security and portable savings vehicles that offer access to low-cost investments similar to those offered to federal workers in the thrift savings plan. So break that down for us. What does this actually look like? It's being laid out in its propaganda form as something that sounds very appealing, just like Obamacare did, or just like his Obama RA did. What does it really mean? How is this actually going to be weaponized against the American people?
You know, it's a good, you said some key words there. The major things, Stu, is that you said the word portable. When you have a 401k, it's not really portable. A, you don't even own it, by the way. And you become a participant. So if you call, let's just say you work for, I don't know, name a company, McDonald's, right? Like if you work for McDonald's in corporate America and the admin, and your 401k provider was Prudential, let's just say. Well, you have to log into Prudential, and you would see that you're logging into participant services, not account ownership services, but participant owner services or participant services. And what all this really means is that you are acknowledging that when I open up this account that is written by the federal government, mandated by your HR department, your administration, your HR admin, they create all the rules. And there's a key word you said there that literally breaks the chains off everything. It said portable. So when you have portability, this is a huge, huge word, because portability means control. Who has control? Do you really have control of your 401k? If you have control, you can take money out whenever you want, not by a loan, but actually access to your money. And you don't have control. You don't have portability inside of a 401k versus the Trump IRA. They're saying you got portability. So the question now becomes, what is the mechanism inside of this Trump IRA? What is it that they're actually investing in where it's...
All right. So more grifting brought to you by your United States government. Why? Because there's an agenda. And they're moving to it, right? All of a sudden they care about you in your retirement, or do they know you finna be a slave and the little bit of dollars that you saving up on, they need that too. You know, they need that too. There's too many people still keeping cash under their bag and cash in different areas. And when they come down, they're gonna really they're gonna need that squeeze to work. So every bit of cash you got in accounts or banks or anything that you can't rarely get to, it's gonna be gone, wiped out. Bank holiday, whatever, freeze on the bank. They freeze assets all the time. It just been reported that they freeze over $1 billion of Iranian assets, or $20 billion or some, large amount. But they have the power to just do what they want to do at all times. This is what the Lord meant when He said, "I'll give you into the hands of your oppressors, or those that hate you." You want to say something, Don?
I had a precept for me. I just posted in the group chat.
Oh, okay. Let me grab it. All right, let me see here. Brother put up Proverbs 26 and 25. They pretend to be kind, but they don't believe them. Their hearts are full of many evils.
Yeah. So if I may, just going based on the promises that they're given, there's always a catch to it. So Esau, he'll speak peace as if he wants to benefit you and improve your life, but we know that this man is looking to snare you. He's looking to draw into his trap. And that last part, Saquon, could you read it one more time?
It says their hearts are full of many evils.
Right. So their minds are full of many tricks and schemes. So, just understanding what Esau's counsel is, it's easy to see, where he's taking these people. And, this is where the warning comes out from us at Great Millstone, my apostle down, is not to trust Esau, because if you do, then your life that you depend on is going to be put into his hands completely, to where you're going to have to submit yourself to get any kind of benefits by the way of, you being poked with a tiny sword, okay, inserted with a seed that chipped. And from that point on, it's over with, man. You're his, and now the Most High has to destroy you.
And I remember years back, brothers brought out that syringe looks just like the fangs on a snake. And Esau's the perfect snake to do that. Proverbs 26 and 26. While their hatred may be concealed by trickery, their wrongdoing will be exposed in public.
There you have it. So yeah, and this is what Esau feared, because his works are in the dark. It was a Rothschild who said, I forget his name, I think that the Apostle Ramla brought him out a few lessons ago, but the guy said that we wouldn't be able to pretty much continue our plans if we were so subjected to the light. Something to that effect, so they work in the dark and do these things unseen among the masses. And we just in a time in which technology has increased and everyone is able to see exactly what they're doing based off the internet, and the Most High putting the spirit of truth out there, so it's impossible for this devil to hide with the light being out, right? And that's going to be the thing that's going to pretty much overthrow this man and his counsel and being exposed.
Yep. That's it. Let me see here. No, I got mine in here somewhere. Okay, I found it. Could you read that for me out? Oh, Matthew 6 and 19. And Ryan, could you read that? But Adon, can you bring up that Klaus Schwab quote?
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Ryan.
This is the book of St. Matthew 6 and verse 19. Don't store up houses on earth where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal.
You ain't supposed to be trusting in this society anyway. All right, trust it as far as you can throw it. That's worked for you up until this point in life. But why do you trust the society, brother? Where earlier it's a bad decision. All right. The scriptures tell you, Ecclesiastes 12 and 12, never trust thine enemy. This man, again, they have corrupted your leaders, they have corrupted the politicians, everybody, the judges on the payroll. Okay. It's all set up in wickedness. And the Lord wanted us to understand wickedness so that we could see, oh, they ruling. right? But again, the treasures that we supposed to be storing up, they're not supposed to be on earth, man. Simply and plain. Well, if they're not on earth, where people and thieves and people could, where is it? Right? Does it mean that you have to die? No. It means that while you're not storing it up on earth, while you're not worried about material gain, you're worried about your resources in the kingdom of heaven that's going to be initiated and founded upon earth when our Lord returns. It's a part of biblical prophecy, the return of the Messiah. What is he going to do? He's going to destroy Esau. You know, Esau, the ones that's ruling the wicked, they're going to get put out. Their candle is going to go out. They're not going to know which way to turn. They're going to be in straits. Okay. Scriptures talk about when their belly is full, they shall vomit it back out, and they'll vomit riches, and their bounds is set that they cannot pass. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So the next kings and rulers of the world are walking around as servants upon earth. And you see, servants are broke, servants are slaves, servants are tortured, servants are owned. And that's exactly where Esau Edom got us in this situation. Okay, we're the own people. You know, you got to file for this, file for that, document, have this document on you. You're not free here in America. That's the play to make you think that. Emancipation, meaning from one owner to another. Let's read that next verse.
Store your treasures in heaven, where moth and rust cannot destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will be also.
And the entirety, right, of the scriptures is, when you analyze it, it's talking about a deliverance. It's talking about a national restoration. Okay, it's talking about a rulership in a kingdom. And so, what would make you think that the earth is going to be fully destroyed and nobody's going to be around to inherit it anymore? You know, that's the lie. Instead, we understand that the Heavenly Father is giving us the glory. He's going to give us the earth along with His Son. That's a part of, prophecy. That's what heaven on earth is going to look like, where you won't cry, won't be any tear, any shame anymore, won't be any more sickness. Okay, we'll be forever ruling. You'll have the laws written on your inward parts. We'll be co-heirs with Yahushua, ruling and reigning, okay, over nations. The blessings, okay? If the curses was for us to go into captivity, what do you think the blessings will be as far as other nations who put us in captivity go? The Lord is the just power. So again, to store up treasures in heaven, where all of these thieves and stuff, that means to prepare your riches in the next kingdom. Right. And that's a hard saying for somebody who's trying to live, who thinks that they only got one life to live and they got to live it up. And they're sold on the idea that this is the greatest place on earth and this is the greatest moment on earth and this is the greatest time they ever going to live in. And they should just be so thankful to be alive in America. Well, we can't deal with y'all. That Stockholm syndrome is too strong. That was, you got a little too drunk at the Babylon wine bar. But for those that the Lord administers the faith to, and He gave us the gift of hope, we know that there's a kingdom following right after this. And we know that you ain't got to die to get there. We know that our bodies are going to be changed in order for us to get there and be delivered. We know that we need a salvation first, but we know that there's certain things the Lord got to keep us from. It's that mark of the beast. So, of course, we can't just disannul the fact that Esau's ruling the world and he's trying to take over the riches and enslave the people, and he has agendas for you to just rent everything. No, we got to talk about that. That's a part of the downfall of this society. You can't turn a blind eye to it. No, the scriptures say be circumspect, be vigilant, for the enemy, Satan, walks around like a roaring lion seeking whom he can devour. If you get caught right back up into this trap, into this spell that Esau has for 2/3 in these last days, then you don't get the salvation. You don't get delivered. You don't get none of that. You lose all of those treasures that you had stored up. So our endurance, he that endureth unto the end shall be saved. Our endurance got to last. right? Many are called, few are chosen. We hope. Go ahead. You can read that, Aidan Babakasha.
God. So this quote is what is from Quora. It says, what does Klaus Schwab mean by quote unquote we will own nothing and be happy? It says by Julian Cobb, empowering people at peopleizer.org. You get to the point. The funny thing is that your perception of what it means is very likely different from what they mean. You will own nothing. You will not only not own physical things, and this includes your own body, but also intangible things. Why do you think they are running a vaccination campaign? It says you will own nothing. So who will own things? Question mark. Well, them. Things have to belong to someone who will not just own them, but manage them. It says the point is not about owning nothing. It's about the sovereignty you have. I do not mind renting everything instead of owning. The key point is that here it is not about this at all. They literally mean that you will not even own your body. As usual, everything is in plain sight, but very, very few people can see it. A simple question of perspective.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Go ahead and bring your video out. I think you had a video or article.
God. Oh, 1 second. It's up, got to put it up there.
Yeah, con. I'll remove it. So just to go back to a precept I had earlier in Habakkuk 2, Raheem, would you mind? Let's continue with verse. Let's just start from the beginning. Raheem, Habakkuk 2 and 5. Babakasha. Oh,
2
okay.
and 5. It says, yeah, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire is hell, and his ass death, and cannot be satisfied.
Yeah, so we're talking about the same man, the same man that these people are getting on. They just happen to be Edomites themselves, possibly, right? But the man Esau is proud, doesn't keep at home. We went through that. He's never satisfied. He wants everything. He wants to own everything and rent it out to you. Go ahead.
But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say,
Slaki.
woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay.
Woe to him that increases that which is not his. Straight up and down, man. Everything you have is not yours. All the resources you can name that these people have, you got to turn a blind eye to daily. You got to act like the Trail of Tears never happened. Wounded Knee never happened. American Indian Removal Act, the 1820 never happened. You got to act like slavery, chattel slavery didn't happen. Alligator bait, all right. The African Dodgers never happened. You got to act like, Jim Crow never. You got to do too much dancing around the topic of how these people even got this land. It's all stolen. That's the bottom line. Still, everything is stolen. Okay. Now he's coming to steal the end. You are everybody included. Rich, poor, all of it. How long? But eventually it'll turn on him. Why? Woe means destruction to him that increases that which is not his. You can't keep taking on the Lord's earth from people that, just because they not of your nationality, you just want to take what they got. You can't walk around this earth just taking things, man. The Lord actually set up the nations to their bounds, and had their own land. So it was, blame the Romans, blame the Greeks, but that's what nations is actually found as in the scriptures, right? It talk about the Assyrian rod of mine anger. We go through that from time to time about how they're just tools to the Lord. And in their mind, they think that they're just going to keep going and taking over every nation. Esau actually think, I'm just going to keep going. The Lord can't stop me now. We got AI, we got weapons, and, we got laser beams, and we learning quantum physics. They actually think they got a shot at taking down the Lord. Let's go into this video the brother put up. Go ahead, out.
I've got one that can see.
In the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations.
You do not even have to have elections anymore because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
Our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
What we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets.
You want the function, you want the service, right? Why do you want to own a cell phone if you can just lease it? And if you lease, why shouldn't you lease your refrigerator or your washing machine or your dishwasher? Or why do you want to own it?
I propose putting an end to anonymity on social media.
If 1 billion people stop eating meat, I tell you, it has a big impact.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains? And we measure your brain waves.
There's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. People believing that they've been at Disney World with characters who are not Disney characters, taking photographs with those characters.
And substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
I've got one that can see.
Yes, if I may, what we just watched was pretty much the desires of the wicked. And it deals with, total control. You lose in everything that you so-called possess, and giving on your complete sovereignty unto them, right? And they mentioned the brain chip in 2026. Klaus Schwab mentioned back in 2016, I think he said that in 10 years. Hey, someone gonna have a brain chip, and we just saw like a Jake dude with a chip in his head, man. If it wasn't AI, but you got people actually with chips in their heads, and they're somewhat fulfilling their belly. So these are literally the plans of the wicked, and it's not gonna benefit you people out there at all. They just start to find out, and like we were just talking about, how this man is being exposed, and that works are pretty much locked up in the dark. Well, with the light shining and the internet exposing everything, it's hard for this man to hide himself. It's a feeling of what Jeremiah 49:10, I believe. The Lord has made Esau bare, he should not be able to hide himself. So it's like the whole world is beginning to fight against Esau and his plans. First starting with the prophets, because it took the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai to reveal exactly what these devils are doing in the dark, man. If not, then they would still run circles around the masses. So he calls his own counsel to fall upon himself because he needs the internet to fulfill his new world order. And that's why they're talking about we need anonymity, pretty much control over the internet. We need to stop free speech because they're being exposed on a high level. So it's like we just got to continue shedding light on the wicked and letting the whole world see this man for what he is. Because in the kingdom, it speaks about within Isaiah 14, is 14, I believe. All right. How they gonna squinch the eye of Esau? Is this the man who destroyed the whole earth and tried to enslave the masses with a chip? All that's gonna be known, you know. So we dealing with the wicked and who has to be overthrown. You know, y'all got it.
They're gonna be sick, man, of that guy in the kingdom, man. You know, Esau is gonna be down bad. You know, that proverb is gonna come to life in so many ways, man. They're gonna be spitting on him, you know, fighting to get to him. We're gonna have to calm them down. These other nations, let alone the wrath of the Lord that's put on us. The Lord said, you know, he gonna use us to avenge, to bring vengeance upon them. You know, I shall use the hand. What is that? I shall use the hand of my people Israel. Or?
Yeah, by the hand of my people Israel.
By the hand of my people Israel. This is what you put Psalms 37:12. It says, the wicked plotteth against the just and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming.
And if I may just add on until the brother I done, you know, because even the whole video at the end is the spirit wars. It showed these people mug shots because these people is really planning to kill to unalive 7.5 billion people upon the planet Earth, and these devils really think they finna get away with it. You know, they on the stage talking eloquently, using all these big words to woo the people to think these things okay. But guess what? Yahweh Shem Shah is finna disrupt these devil plans, man. And that's why I says he gnasheth upon them with his teeth. That's going to be through his army, his military, you know, because ultimately, you know, when it comes into, you know, these people in these 15-minute cities, if you ain't got that thing, you ain't gonna be able to go into the grocery store, man. It might be what is called a open round for you if you even come near that city, man. You know, so ultimately that's why Yahweh Shem Shah is going to step in on our behalf, man. You know, like the elder mentioned earlier, the Lord got us, man. He's going to keep us straight here in these dangerous times. And the only thing we really gotta have is with faith that these things is going to happen. You know, we got faith. Yahweh Shah rose on the third day. He resurrected. That's a miracle. So how much faith you gotta have for the Lord to deliver you in the times of Jacob's trouble, man? You know, even Yahweh Shah said the things that I do, you shall do greater. So we got a lot to look forward to, and a lot to look forward to is evils, the plans of the devil, man. You know, because again, it was renting the Georgia Guidestones, but he had to knock it down. But he's planning to unalive 7.5 billion people upon the planet Earth. How crazy and wicked you gotta be to have that wicked thought come across your mind, man. You know. That was it.
God, was Jesse Peter? What's his name? Jesse say?
Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yeah, what is his favorite quote? What is it? Amazing. Nah, God, I mean, you gotta have that faith. Brother just spoke on it, and it's real. Do you believe that he walked on water or not? And what happened subsequently when Peter started to doubt? He started to sink because he was walking. The Lord said, "Come to me." You know, so I mean, miracles, you got to expect them in these times because that's how, I mean, AI, look at AI, a left-hand side wicked of invention of demons that basically talk to you through your internet service. You know, and they say all kind of demonic things. They be telling people to unallow themselves. But yeah, this is the time of the faithful, man. The Lord said those that worship in the spirit and in truth, man, that's who he's looking for. So if you don't got that kind of faith, man, of course we just entertainment for y'all. But for those that get it, matter of fact, may you read this out in Matthew 7, and you can cue up the next thing. I done Babakasha, Matthew 7:26.
It's the book of St. Matthew 7, verse 26. It says, "But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand."
Now that already sounds wrong. You know, you ain't got to be a construction engineer, all right, to understand that building something on sand mean it's gonna fall soon. The foundation isn't steady. It's not strong. But your mind has to be built on something stronger than sand. And everything you believe in, if you call yourself an American to this day, an American, what's that? We're from Americo Vespucci, the who was that? Italian navigator, or you know, you ain't a descendant of his. African, Leo Sipis African, all of these names, these are all sand. That's all sand. Okay. What you only live once. Sandy. You've never been here before. Sand. I don't believe in nothing I can't see. That's more sand. Those are everything that you building your house upon. And what's going to happen to you as a result? Let's read on.
When the rain and the floods come, the winds beat against that house, and it will collapse with a mighty crash.
And we know that word crash also is a word that's commonly used for economics. When a crash happens, that means everybody's money go bye-bye. So they got to conscript this crash, squeezes, and all kind of dire situations, pandemics even, to take. We just read that. The report, little known, that meanwhile, everybody was worried about coughing and 6 feet of separation. Then banks was running down on these businesses. What do you mean you can't pay a loan? Yeah, we can't pay because, the society shut down for 500 days. Well, you still owe us. Now you're in default, and we're gonna have to sell your property. This is your America, man. Eventually America gonna look wasted and touched. That harlot, it's gonna be laying there destitute, dry, ravished, ran through, and fired, and burnt. There's that scene in The Godfather when he looks at his son, Sonny. He says, "What does they do to my boy? Look at my boy. Look at my son. Look what they did to my boy." That's how they're going to be looking at America. Because it was too hasty. It was that stout horn. People are tired of this place. Think about NATO, what they want to do to America as we speak. Let's play that clip, Abakasha. We're going to cut it soon. Another grift story in America.
You don't have a kitchen in that thing? Oh man, $999,000 for this Section 8 house, and it could be yours for only $6,000.
You can hit the refresh button
of your government tax dollars.
Lord willing.
What a Section 8 house looks like in Lakewood, New Jersey. First, let's thank this guy, Mr. Fitnick, Nick Salonitro, who Oprah requested this list, and we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to pick our top 3 Section 8 houses in Lakewood, and let's see what it reveals.
Pause it.
How about this lovely star?
Lakewood is a 100% Amalekite neighborhood in New Jersey, and they all on Section 8. So the grifting continues. Look at this $1 million home. Section 8, government paid. We the only, it's a giant club and you ain't in it. You see? Meanwhile, people, they worried about how they going, what rent or food. So that's not by design. I mean, that's not by coincidence. It's design. You wasn't chosen to win. You was chosen to fail. That's why they got a mark at the end of your route. There's a mark at the end of, at the end of everybody's route. Eventually, you're going to have to detest, turn down, or accept a mark. That's what's at the end of everybody's decision making, all your pro athleticism and all your good, economics and your savings. And at the end of all of that, out of your great education skills, you got degrees, or you're just poor, or you're just in jail, locked up. At the end of all of it, Esau has a formula for you. He has a reward. You win a chip. And you either accept it and live in his world designed for you where you own nothing, be happy, or you don't. But as you can see, America's being grifted right now for every last dollar, dime, and the idiots, right, which we all are people just paying into the system. thinking it works, voting, thinking that works, thinking you really have a choice. And if you don't pay, you go to jail. Let's keep going.
Starter home for $999,000. With that money, you get 10 beds, 7 baths, 400 square foot of Lakewood heaven. Is it 1,000 square foot in bathrooms alone? Do you even have a kitchen in that thing? Oh man, $999,000 for this Section 8 house. And it could be yours for only $6,342 of your government tax dollars. Next up, we have this lovely 5-bedroom, 5-bath, 3,000 square foot house for $1,033,000. How do you feel, everybody? How do you feel while you're paying your mortgage on your $400,000 house and the government is kicking in for this bad boy? Awesome, right? Okay, my personal favorite, and I haven't even gotten to the whole list. This was just at random. You have this lovely cottage for $1.49 million.
And you can set the next one up. Basically everybody's waking up that they don't have the liberties that some of these other people have, man. You've been left out the loop. Okay. And Amalek, they gonna do what they do. They see an opportunity to make some bread and they gonna get it. They gonna make it. Let's bring out your preset real quick. I done. It's Ecclesiastes 7:12 NLT. Wisdom and money can get you almost anything, but only wisdom can save your life.
Yeah, if I may. Because this is what we push, wisdom. Wisdom really, tends unto life according to the scriptures. So it entails with another hope outside of the confines that Esau dealing with his fiat currency or digital currency. There's another way out of here. So the real money that's going to be a defense in that day is the scriptures. That's what the Lord says in Matthew 6, to store up your riches in heaven, where neither thief nor moth nor corrupt, and this is exactly what we're trying to do right now, because we know that it's going to fight for us. And in times because these people take everything away, he's going to act as a defense as far as divine intervention coming into play, miracles, right? Food materializing, and there's ultimate salvation from all the troubles that we read about in the scripture, because it's going to get hectic. All right, there will be a great crash like never before, far greater in 1929, 2008, like people have never seen before. And how much bad is it going to be in these times when everyone is dependent upon what system, digital system, people don't know how to farm, crop, everything is digitized. So they're going to crash out that much more. Very perilous and dangerous time.
It says, enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard times strike, realize that both come from Yahweh. Remember that. It says, remember that nothing is certain in this life.
There you have it. And this is the realization that you come into exposing to this truth. You understand the perfect will of the Most High, and that he's trying to literally uproot and destroy this place of America and Esau's entire system. So by being in agreement with that, you don't put your stock here, man. You understand that this place has to be uprooted for good to really be made manifest. So it's the Most High who's behind everything that's going on. Although we speak about the Edomites, Rothschilds or whatever, their plan, that counsel really stems from the left hand of the Most High to set up what his kingdom of heaven that's going to be established after this one goes down. So it says, enjoy while you can. Yeah, but you don't put no stock into it. Because it's not going to be able to live you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, you don't own anything. You already, as it is, you don't really own anything. We just learned you don't own your 401k because of the wording in there. All right, you don't own your bank account as long as they can seize it, or they can do runs on the bank, or bank freezes. Okay, or they can crash the dollar that everything you own is owned in. How do you pay your mortgage when the dollar and the currency is devalued? And you have to have a new currency, and the bank now only accepts new currency. all of these things are going to happen, but we, the Lord gave us such a early heads up on this, a timely heads up that that we can talk about the things as they're going gradually. It's a gradual grift. You got the president grifting, talking about, if you don't have an IRA account, you just invest money into Trump RA. This is sick what's going on, man. They want you people crawling on your knees for the answer, which is the mark. Let's go ahead and play that video real quick. Yep, the brother put Esau as pure evil. That's a 10-4.
Nothing and be happy. Smart cities, AI surveillance, 200 square foot micro apartments, no private cars, carbon credits. Sounds reasonable. So why do the people saying this live on entire islands? Bill Gates, 66,000 square foot mansion. Jeff Bezos, 300,000 acre ranch. Larry Ellison owns 98% of Lanai. Private jets to climate conferences. Gated compounds with 0 cameras. Palantir's CEO says you better be on your best behavior in monitored cities. He lives on a 100-acre isolated estate. They want you in a box. They live in castles. If their future is so great for everyone, why aren't they living in it? SigilumAlexio.com. They say you'll own nothing.
Yep, more of that propaganda. What else does it say? Okay, that's just the words of everything he said. Is there any other videos left?
We got let's see, video. Yeah. Yep. But this is just
right. I think the phrase, what's that say? Yeah, let's read that.
It says the company that builds AGI would totally make unlimited profit initially. Then it would just have total power and control, since people won't work anymore and they'll depend on governments and companies to survive. So own nothing and be happy. Funny how the people against the WF are pushing for the exact same agenda through AI supremacy. Are there truly two sides, or is it just one hydra with multiple heads?
Yep. So AI or agendas, all these agendas are going to come to the same place, putting the squeeze on you. Brother Raheem, do you mind reading this prayer?
Come. This the prayer of Azariah 1:9. And thou didst deliver us into the hands of the lawless enemies and most hateful forsakers of the Most High, into an unjust king and the most wicked in all the world.
Damn. That's the criteria of the man who's ruling over us. So how wicked is these times going to get? Utterly wicked. All right. Don't the scriptures talk about few men left, and the world to come for few, and the great misery shall be done in these last days because they walked in great pride. And again, the brother Raheem quoted earlier, that's going to be they're reaching for about 7.5 billion deletions just to get to the number that they most comfortable with. And these people not scared of deletions, man. Not only is they running these abortion clinics and taking the baby, fetuses and making cakes or whatever they're doing with them. I mean, making jab recipes and whatever else they're doing with them. All right. But these people will unalive living children. I mean, children 3-4 days old, they sacrifices. They're sacrificial demons. So again, man, lawless enemies, hateful forsakers, unjust kings, most wicked in all the world. Just in case you was wondering who got that title, that's who the Lord delivered us in the hands to. Okay, so that's talking about slavery. So again, the Lord he gonna justify this by judging Esau, Edom, and taking them out. Is there any more videos out?
Yeah, I was just looking at one, if I may. Try to pull it quick. I did have a precept while I'm getting it.
Okay, Khan. I think you wanted this one, Psalms 140.
Khan.
Okay, Khan. This is Psalm 140, KJV. Grant not, O Lord, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves. Salah.
Yeah, so we know that the ultimate device that they want to get accomplished is the chip, man. So it's like we see the plans that Esau is doing leading all the way up into that moment, you know, as far as depopulation and all these sicknesses and diseases and problems with the atmosphere, right? Climate change and all of that. So it's like we can see that the end of this man's road is death. So we're crying out for deliverance from the Most High Yahweh Shemel Shai. And, you know, we see him working. We see the Lord working behind the scenes and causing things not to go their way. That counsel is not really adding up like it's supposed to. It's trouble at the top, right? So it's like the Lord is showing us that he's on our side at this point. So he's not going to grant Esau's wicked desires, as we read their list in that video earlier, you know, chipping everyone and, you know, depopulation. Also. Yep, you guys know.
Yep, that AI control. You know, earlier in that thing, they was talking about how the new Ford trucks is going to have front-facing cameras. And if they don't like the way your eyeballs is looking, the car don't turn on. And all cars after 2026 has to have a kill switch in it. So it could, you know, they can globally turn it off in the middle of your drive or just rear your car off the freeway into oncoming traffic. It's about to go down. And the brother also has here Psalms 140:9. It says, as for the head of those that compass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them.
Right. So, you know, that's the secret counsel of the wicked. Can you hear me?
Khan.
Yeah. That's the secret counsel of the wicked. You know, so they're compassing around Jacob, and that counsel they come up with is really to get his birthright back. You know, that Psalms 2nd chapter, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Because they think that, you know, by aligning themselves with Esau, that they're going to be able to escape from being under the bounds and the, you know, the burden of, you know, of Jacob, beginning with Yahweh Shai. Because in the world to come, the law is going to have to be kept. It's not going to be free will. It's not going to be, well, I think it should be like this or it should be like this. No, that's going to be out the window. It's going to be either do this, either keep the law, or it's going to be severe punishment. So they're plotting against it to cut us off from receiving that. And we see that although it's not, you know, pretty much that much exposed as far as like who they really are, we already know, just according to the council, that it's all centered around, you know, Jacob, you know.
That's right.
So their own mischief, it's like their own mischief, their council is gonna be the uproot. You got it.
Beautiful. Psalms 21:11. It says, for they intended evil against thee. They imagined a mischievous device, which they are not able to perform.
Con, and that's that NWO, man. That's that New World Order that he's been trying to do. Again, the totalitarian system, that digital system, this new digital age that this guy's trying to perform the Lord, he's going to disappoint him. Because in order for him to really get that NWO off the ground completely, it got to be a lot of bloodshed, man. You know, not only bloodshed amongst the nations. Look what's happened over there in Gaza, but especially a lot of bloodshed inside the nation of Israel, because that's most of the world, you know. And even like this devil is just doing this over here in the Western Hemisphere. They just happy in America. No, India, they got a big digital system propping up. We already know what China got going on. We already know what Sweden got going on. This guy's trying to make this a global thing upon the planet Earth. And Yahweh Shemel Shai is setting him up just so he can disappoint him, man. It tells us that in the book of Job, the 20th chapter, when he is about to fill his belly, the Lord gonna give him a taste of it. When he's about to fill his belly, the Lord shall disappoint him, man. You know? But that was it.
Yep. Gone. Yeah. So through despair, you know, we could kept going and going and going, man. You know, it's a hot topic. But of course, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, Lord willing, it was edifying, you know. Brother just touching on the fact that, as his title says, Esau about to steal everything. You know, you over here busting your ass, working hard, planning ahead, doing all it. Just think about how many treaties he signed and went against those and broke them. You know, think about how he how you know some of his secrets, right? That net setting inside of any bird is in vain. You know so many of Esau's secrets through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. You know, also that quote from the from Scooby-Doo. You know, we would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. You know, so this is this man, you know, but we storing what? Treasures in heaven. All right. And this thief gonna come and do what he's supposed to do. So don't find it odd. Ain't gotta fight it. You gotta stress out when he comes for your check, when he comes for the rest of your bills, when you in straits, when he making sure you get kicked out of your career, whatever. We trusting in Yahweh Shem Yahshua, man. All right, who never fails us. The scripture said when your father and a mother, basically roughly paraphrasing, can't be trusted or they turn their back on you, the Lord won't. Okay. So again, everybody that at the end of all of these roles, no matter how successful you might be doing in society, or you can't get it, you know, you can barely keep a job. The end of all roads leads to the mark. So at the end of this rich man who drives the Murcielago every night, he gonna have to take a mark. They do not care. He causeth all, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive that mark in their right hand and their forehead. And they cannot buy or sell without it, right? So that's going to be a theft situation. You're not going to own nothing in Esau's kingdom. He sees it fit that you will be an owner of nothing, not even yourself. He coming for you at the end of the day to biochip your brain and biochip your body. The internet of bodies, okay, is what it's called. And this is the New World Order enslavement agenda. So Baratazah, what we touched on was edifying. We want to give all glory, honor, and praises due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, the ones that rule well over the flock of Israel. Baratazah, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, Shalom, Tuwab La'ilah.
Shalom, Tuwab La'ilah.
Shalom, Tuwab La'ilah.